Welcome back to Omni Garage. So today we've got a really big video installed. Once upon a time I went and bought all the DIY detail products and I was going to save them so that I could decontaminate the Subaru here. So the day has come and we're going to work you through the process of decontaminating using DIY detail products. So we need to mix up our foam cannon dilution. We are using the Garage foam cannon that does come typically with the metering tips. I have taken that out because we're going to make our own dilution of soap. So the old dilutions, which are on this bottle, is 2 to 3 ounces in the wash bucket and 4 to 5 ounces in the foam cannon. The new dilution, which is on their website, is 1 to 2 ounces in the foam cannon and a half to 1 ounce in the wash bucket. So
we found we've had some pretty good results kind of over diluting, well not over diluting, under diluting and using too much product previously. So it'll be interesting to see, given that this is a really thick product as well, just how...
So I'm going to do the new dilutions. I'm going to do 2 ounces in the foam cannon.
I think we'll get really good results out of that because this is a very gluggy, very thick soap, and we had incredible soap the last time we used this.
I'm not going to get it all right. So we're probably going to do not quite 2 ounces because it's all going to stick in here, but that's all right.
And then in the wash bucket here, we're going to go half that, so you're going to put 1 ounce in the wash bucket.
So yes, as Glenn said, this is a really thick soap. It produces really good suds, and also it's got a nice grape scent.
Now we're in pretty direct sunlight. It's about midday here today, but we are using deionized water, so we're going to be very, very safe washing in the direct sun. We haven't had to wait for shade today.
Now I've got a very full foam cannon here because what I'm going to do, I'm going to foam on dry. I'm going to let the soap dwell for a little bit of time. That's going to help emulsify the dirt that's on this vehicle. I understand that this car is relatively clean. It's not about the cleaning, it's not about how well these products are at cleaning. What it is about to showing you the process. So we're going to foam on, let it dwell, we're going to rinse off. I'll refoam the car again and then we'll get into a contact wash with the buckets. So we've gone around the car just once. We've used, I don't know, half the foam cannon here, so that'd be perfect for our next foaming application. We'll let this sit and dwell and then I'll give it a quick rinse off. And the whole idea of that is just removing any sort of large bits of loose dirt, anything else that will be easily rinsed off. You kind of want to get soap on there first so that you get, you know, you get some dwell time, you get it to break down the dirt and grime so that you're not pressure washing this heavy dirt into the surface. It's hopefully going to add a little bit of lubrication that will take that off before we get into our contact wash. And it's about getting the surface as clean as possible before we do come into our contact washing. So you can see here as I'm rinsing, you can see we've got our top layer of foam, so that's our top layer of surfactants, and you can see there's like another layer underneath. So this has had like one rinse over the top, which got rid of that, and then we're left with this. So it's like a dual active surfactant, so we're like sort of really giving this a good dwell time and biting and eating away at that dirt and grime on the surface.
It's quite satisfying to wash it as well, like when you've got that dual layer. Have a watch of that.
And what you tend to find with soaps like that is that this is actually quite hard to rinse usually, but this is super easy, really clean product to use. So at this point, after doing our first foam and rinse, most vehicles would have had all the large bits of dirt and the easy stuff to be removed, and so now you're reducing the risk of marring and scratching. So now I'm going to come in and foam for the second time, and this is the foam that we're going to use for our contact wash.
So we got really good, consistent and thick foam again at that lower dilution rate. So I think you can actually go quite a long way using a soap like DIY Detail Incredible Suds. That 16-ounce container, you'll actually get a fair few washes out of it.
And so when you think about a good quality soap, other than foaming and clinging, what else do you want to see in a good soap?
I mean, foaming, yep. Scent. Scent is quite important to me in the detailing world as well. So it's got to have a good scent. Look, this soap here is grape scented and it is quite strong, so it's not going to be necessarily.
It's definitely filled up the area here, isn't it?
Nah, it's not as strong as we were talking earlier about, like a Labo Cosmetica Semper. That is a very strong scent that lingers around. This one here disappears a little bit quicker, but you do get a nice tinge to it, which is good.
For me, it's all about lubrication, because I think that this is one of the points at which you're going to induce or have the potential of inducing marring and scratching. And so I want a soap that's really nice and lubricious underneath my wash media, in between the wash media and the paint, so that I can just glide the wash mitt across.
Yeah, and
I've tried lots of soaps, and let me tell you, there's some really slick ones out there, and I could tell you a whole heap. This is a slick soap, but there's also some that aren't that slick.
Yeah, and look, slickness as well is really important to have on not only a coated car, but more importantly, an uncoated vehicle as well. This car has probably been about 4 years since it's had the coating applied, so it's definitely worn away a bit, but still incredibly slick with the shampoo. Now, a couple of things to note about this soap is really, really easy to track where you have been and where you haven't been. And yeah, I mean, when you get soap on the car, right, you know kind of where there's soap you haven't washed. But because it's got that dual layer property, it clings a little bit more, so you really can see where you have missed. And the other thing as well, with a really thick soap, you typically associate that glugginess and that thickness with reactivation, something that we don't get with the shampoo as well. So where that's really important is areas like this, along the rails, some of these crevices here along the windscreen. When we actually go to rinse this product off, we're not going to end up with a reactivation of the product, which is really important when you get to the drying stage as well, because the last thing you want to do is get out the leaf blower and find that it's creating more suds at that point in time.
Alright, so I have our decontamination towel here, which I've just sort of dumped into the wash bucket here with a little bit of soap. If you're working in direct sunlight like we are, you typically want to do this in small panels at a time. You don't want any of these products drying, and you want to be a little bit careful. We are lucky we do have deionized water, and so we are taking some extra precautions. We did dry the vehicle just a little bit with the leaf blower, just so that we've got a little bit of extra working time so that we can talk about this on the video and stuff. But definitely, if you're in direct sunlight, go panel by panel, take your time. You don't want any of this to dry. So just let that soak in the wash bucket. Now, a lot of people are going to get a little bit sort of unsure about what's happening here. So this is a decontamination towel. This is a synthetic perforated decontamination towel. People are sort of used to using clay and really harsh a clay that's got like harsh abrasives in it. That will cause scratching and marring, but this is synthetic. This is synthetic clay. There is no harm of using this with correct lubrication and the correct setting of causing any marring and scratching. This is just going to be nice and safe to use on that. So we do get quite a lot of comments on our YouTube videos about using this. It's going to cause marring and scratching. Use it correctly and you will be fine. So I've folded it in four, so we've got a little bit of increased suds on there, and I'm going to use DIY Detail Iron Remover. So this has got the active ingredient sodium diglycolate, and when you spray this onto the surface, if you had a lot of iron on the surface, it would react to purple. And that's what we're all used to seeing. We're used to seeing these iron removers turn purple. That shows you that the chemical reaction has happened with the iron particle. And what happens is a lot of people sort of stop there, they rinse the vehicle off, and they think iron has been removed. Now, there's a really good video out there on the market. It's done by an iron remover produced by, was it Invisible Glass?
Invisible Glass. It was one of the new iron.
Well, I don't know if it was
removers.
Invisible Glass, but Stoners. Yes. Stoner's iron remover. They did a real good scientific experiment where they had a white panel and they sprayed iron remover on it. You saw the purple reaction, you rinsed it away. They then went back, sprayed more iron remover, it reacted, and again, and that just shows you that the iron's not actually being removed when you spray it on. What's happening is the iron remover is acting with the little iron around the outside of the actual particle. That's what you're seeing. And then you think that when you rinse it away, it's being removed. But no, that's not actually correct. What you need to do is you need to come in with a bit of manual agitation, and you need to sort of remove that iron particle. This is going to help loosen it up. This product's going to have a little bit of lubrication with our decontamination towel. We're going to spray it on. We're going to let it dwell. It'll start to loosen it. We might see a little bit of purple reaction. I'm not totally sure. And then we're going to use some abrasion, some really safe abrasion, to remove those iron particles from the surface. Couple of sprays on there. We're going to put a little bit of a spray on our towel here, and this has got lubricating properties in it, so that allows us to combine the iron remover with our decontamination towel. Slowly come across, and you'll be able to hear under here, this car hasn't been decontaminated for 4 or 5 years, and when I come over to here, there is little bits of grit that I can feel under there that we are slowly removing. Now Ivan LaCour says that instead of doing one swipe, you want to do a whole heap of little swipes, and that just helps agitate. Really light pressure. I'm letting this do all the scrubbing for me.
Importantly here, you've only sprayed this onto one panel, so you're not getting ahead of yourself. You're working in a really organized fashion here, especially given that we're in that direct sunlight. Really important that you stay very, very organized, because you don't want to let this sit on the surface for an extended
And if you come
period of
down,
time.
you'll be able to hear around here as well that these are the high areas of where a lot of dirt and stuff sort of gets embedded into the paint there. I'm not going to do the glass because I did do the glass a couple of weeks ago, so if you needed to do this on the glass, then make sure you include that as well.
We're working on the most unsatisfying coloured car when it comes to decontaminating and removing iron. Really, you want to be working on a white car to get that really cool purple activation.
We will show some on the back. We might get a few dots here, but what the real key take-home message here is that when you're using this, you can't really hear it, and there's not really any visual cue that you remove the contaminants. What you're actually feeling is underneath the mitt. So when this feels quite grabby, quite noisy to start with, as you agitate, the paint will get smoother and smoother. When it feels nice and smooth, that means you know that you have basically decontaminated the panel. You can rinse this down and move on to the next panel.
And how often are you revisiting the bucket with your towel there?
Oh, so I've done that panel, so now I dump this back in the bucket. Get some more incredible suds on there, and then I'd move on to the next section.
Now, as Glenn is almost finished with that second panel there, what we're going to do is take a break, and we are going to rinse. So we're going to completely rinse down this door here and the adjacent panel to it as well. Same with that back door of the car. Make sure we've removed any remnants of the iron remover off the paint before we start and move to the next panel. We're working in very organised sections here, but as you can see, you do have to really beat the sun, because if you let an iron remover dry on the car,
That's what you end up
with that there. Now this is fine, it's not at the point where it has fully dried, but if you left that for another couple of minutes, you're in danger of causing some serious damage to your paint. And that's why the rinse process is also really important, that you're very thorough and any adjacent panels get hit to make sure that you fully remove it off the surface. So we're just going to keep working our way around the car here, and hopefully we find a section where on the blue paint we can actually see some of that iron activating to show you what the chemicals are actually doing on the paint.
So I found a spot down here on the front bumper that's obviously been hit by lots of bugs and dirt and grime, and over time that's like embedded itself into the clear coat, and so you will be able to hear a little bit of a rough noise when I come across here. Hear that? And so as you keep going, it'll get smoother and smoother as you remove those embedded contaminants out of here, leaving you with a nice silky feeling paint that's really smooth.
Now we've had a lot of hands-on time with different types of synthetic clays, and traditionally, I mean, clay is tiny. You kind of beat it up into nothing, and some of the synthetic clays we've used are more like blocks that almost kind of like replicate a sanding block, whereas this is probably the largest synthetic that we've ever had a chance to play with.
So what I like about it is that it's synthetic to start with. So if I was to drop this on the floor or onto the concrete, I can just dash that back into my rinse bucket and I can go again. I've also got 4 sides, so I could decontaminate with this side, I can flip it over and then use this side, then I can unravel it, and I've got another couple of sides. So I think that's really good. And so typically you've got that little block of clay, you're sort of rubbing it into your thing, and then you've got a small area, you drop it, you've got to dash that in the bin, and you're always kind of grabbing a new piece. So I just like the versatility of this. This is synthetic, so it is nice and safe on the paint here, as long as you use it correctly with a nice lubrication like we are with the iron remover.
And because it's not like a sponge as well, it contours pretty well to the different curves in the paint. You know, typically an area like this is quite hard to do when you're using like a block, but because this is more of a towel, like it just folds with the contour there, it makes it quite easy to manage.
I'm applying no pressure, I'm just going backwards and forwards just with the fingertips, nice and lightly, just removing all the contaminants that are on here. Those contaminants will be embedded particles when driving on the road. Those contaminants might be little bits of iron that are all coming flicking up, and so leaves this surface of the paint feeling nice, silky and smooth. So although we haven't been able to find much iron on the vehicle, you can see that this tow bar here, which is this metal, has got rusting elements to it, and you can see that it has started to drop that onto the driveway there. So if you did have a lot of iron on your vehicle, you would get that color changing technology, you would get that changing to purple, which would identify that you have got quite a bit of iron on your car and it has started to react. But again, that's just a reaction, that's not removing the iron. Especially if you go back and have a look at that Stoner's video, to be able to remove it, you need to use some mechanical decontamination or some mechanical agitation to be able to remove those iron particles. And that's what we've done today. We've managed to remove whatever iron was embedded on here, as well as the other contaminants safely with the DIY Detail decontamination towel and the DIY Detail iron remover, and I've got a nice smooth surface on this vehicle. So we have given the car a really good clean. We have also decontaminated using the DIY Detail decontamination towel and iron remover. So now it is time to use the water spot remover. Now, we're not really going to be able to remove water spots, but what we're going to be able to do is use this product to do a mineral cleanse. Now, if you have visible water spots, what happened is that the minerals have dried onto the surface, and over time they have been able, or they have etched themselves deep into the clear coat. That is causing etching. You're probably not going to be able to remove that. You might have to polish it, etc. Typically, water spot removers will not remove the etching, which is a visible sign of water spots. What the water spot remover will be able to do is basically remove the minerals that haven't etched, that are on the surface of the paint, and clean those away, so that you're basically preventing the ability of you to, or the ability of those minerals to deeper into the clear coat to produce what you would see visibly as a water spot. So we're going to use this as a mineral cleanse to help clean up the surface so that we don't have any minerals that could potentially cause etching. And now, why would you want to do this? If you want to go on and do like a full like a full paint correction, a multi-step correction, what you'd want to do is you want to decontaminate the surface. You'd also want to do a mineral cleanse so that you remove those minerals from the surface so they're not getting built up into your pads, etc. And it's also just keeping the surface nice and clean. The other reason is that if you had like a ceramic coating and you wanted to revive the ceramic coating, you might want to do a mineral cleanse to help remove the minerals that are built up onto the surface that are basically reducing the ability of that ceramic coating to shed water. So those are the two sort of reasons why you'd want to do it. Now behind me, this car's got a 5-year ceramic coating on it. It's been on there for a couple of years. So I want to do a mineral cleanse just to spruce up the surface so that I can continue to have really good hydrophobics of the ceramic coating behind me. So this car is clean. We have done a really good thorough clean on here. So I'm going to re-wet the surface. I'm going to get my wash mitt that's been sitting in a bit of incredible suds. I'm just going to add a bit of soap to the surface just so that we've got some nice lubrication. And because we're working out here in direct sunlight, we're going to do sort of panel by panel. We're going to work really slowly, just so that we don't let that chemical dry onto the surface. Then I've got a nice clean towel here that's basically been dampened in our wash bucket. And I'm going to spray the water spot remover onto the surface, let it dwell for a little bit, and then I'm going to very lightly agitate with this dampened microfiber. And we don't have any visible water spots on the surface of this vehicle, so we wouldn't be able to show you if this is going to remove any water spots that haven't heavily etched themselves. But what this is going to do is just remove the minerals as a bit of a mineral cleanse from the surface of the vehicle.
And the reason why we don't have any visible water spots here is we're really careful with the wash process. We are using deionized water, and we make sure the vehicle's thoroughly dried when we're not using deionized water as well.
And that's a really good important note. So when you're going to get basically water spots, if you're not using DI water, what happens is the water has got minerals in it. You let it dry on the surface, the water evaporates, you're left with the minerals, and over time what happens is they sort of just slowly etch and embed themselves into the surface of the clear coat through like a heat and shrink cycle. You know, if your car's parked outside, the clear coat will swell up, the minerals will go inside, the car then gets parked away or it cools down, locks them in, and it goes through those cycles, and what happens is that will then etch those minerals deep into the surface. So had some time to dwell there, and we're just going to basically wipe this on here.
Now you'll notice Glenn's not using any pressure here as well. This is more just a spreading of the product across the surface. So he's not trying to wipe it away.
Spreading in an agitation. If I was to keep flipping the surface, I want this to stay on here and basically do the breakdown of the minerals. If I was to keep flipping the surface and keep using a nice clean towel, I would be basically removing the product, which is not what I want it to do. I want it to stay on the surface to eat away those minerals.
And the sweet spot for the amount of time that you let this dwell on the surface, it depends on conditions. If you're in direct sunlight and it's hot, it's going to be far less time than in direct sunlight in cool weather. Obviously, if you're fully clouded over, or you have the luxury of being able to work in an indoor wash bay, you can potentially work on bigger panels and take a little bit more time.
So now I'm just going to give this a really nice simple rinse down. So what you would have seen is that as I have rinsed the vehicle, the hydrophobics on this panel is better than this car has ever been. I'll show you again. The water beading is really, really good on here. When I compare it to this panel here that's freshly decontaminated, it's got nothing on the surface, you can see our water is actually quite stagnant in some areas.
Yeah, look at that. This whole middle panel, the water it's beating up a little bit, but it's very much sitting there.
I'll turn the pressure washer on and I'll show you a little bit more. So you can see in this middle part of the door here, we do get water beading, but nothing like this side. So what is happening is called the lotus effect. Basically what happens is when I spray the water spot remover on there, it's an acid-based product. What's that doing is it's allowing the paint to release the minerals that are deposited on the surface. When they release it, it allows me to come along with my wash media, pick them up and remove those minerals as a mineral cleanse from the surface of the paint. Now, what typically happens is that sort of lotus effect stays active for a period of time. It's going to be different on different paint surfaces. It's going to be different depending on what else is on the surface of your vehicle, so you might get different results. And so what happens is the effect of the lotus effect is a super hydrophobicity phenomenon, and it basically looks like we've got really, really good water beading. And people are really concerned that water spot remover with this specific acid, Ivan has written what acids this has compared to others, is that it's not only does it have an acid in it, but it's also altering the surface. Like people think maybe there's a protectant in there or something else that's causing the water beading, you know, like an SiO2 or something like that, that's altering the surface to allow water beading. This is not happening. It's just the lotus effect, and that is now really good at preparing the surface, removing the minerals and preparing the surface for basically your last step protection, like, you know, ceramic coating or putting on an SiO2 based product. And so the other thing that people get concerned is that if it's altering the surface and causing this really good water beading, how do I know that I've removed the minerals from the surface, and how do I know that that has restored the properties of my ceramic coating? And that's where the real concern is. People are like, well, I put this product on, I got really good hydrophobics. Was that the product that had helped improve the hydrophobics alone with like some water beading properties, or have I actually demineralized the surface and have I restored the properties of my ceramic coating? And so I guess that is a bit of concern, because how do you know? Is it the product or is it actually the ceramic coating that I've restored? I do understand that. And so Ryan from Farm Detailing, he came across with a high pH wash, and he basically cleaned the surface, neutralized it, and that lotus effect was stopped. And so that's just to clear that up. I haven't done a really good job of explaining that, but I will put the comments up so people can go back and read that. And so that's sort of what we're going to see here. So when I do now clean the surface here with the water spot remover, we'll be removing the minerals, but also you're going to see that hydrophobics is really good, and that's just showing that lotus effect in action. So I guess the question still remains is that, have I restored the properties of the ceramic coating, or have I, or has this product sort of tricked me into thinking that the hydrophobics are really good? And so I guess if you go across with a pH neutral, with a high pH wash, and you knock off that lotus effect and your ceramic coating beads really well, I guess you've then proven that you've managed to restore the effects of the ceramic coating. And so I'm at no risk here of doing any scratching or anything like that, because we came through and we decontaminated this car before we did this. And so just agitating this product into the surface, really letting it eat away at the minerals, allowing me to then rinse that away. You can come along and rinse, and what you'll see is the hydrophobic's really good. That's just that lotus effect in action. So I guess now if I wanted to prove, is this the lotus effect that's causing the water beading, or is my ceramic coating truly dead, or is it good? If I was to come across with that high alkaline pH wash and I basically neutralize the surface, DIY Detail recommend you don't need to do that. But if I came across, neutralize that surface, and I still had really good water beading, you could then say my ceramic coating is still active and it's the ceramic coating causing the water beading. I'm not going to do that because I'm not concerned that this is dead.
Second favourite bit of any detail is getting to the end stage and doing our final application, whether a polymer or a ceramic based product. And as we've got today is ceramic gloss from DIY. If anyone wondering what the favourite part of the detail is, it's tire dressing. But you know, you've got to have everything done before you get to the point of applying tire dressing. So this product here is SiO2 based, and a little goes a long way. A couple of spritzes on the panel, and we're just working this in. We use a couple of towels when we do this. The first one is essentially to spread the product around the panel, much like if you're applying a ceramic coating. You don't want to remove it with that first wipe. And then your second towel, you're just removing any remnants that haven't evaporated or flashed away. This has got a really nice smell to it. It's quite strong.
It's like a fruit punchy smell, eh?
Yeah.
And also, if you're working in direct sunlight like we are, just work in small areas, do a little section of the panel at a time. You definitely don't want this to dry because it'll be streaky and really hard to remove. So
no, not at all.
Just be organised.
Yeah, it is a very strong smell, but it is very pleasant. And I notice immediately on this, it's like, as should be the case with any SiO2 based product. And I'm actually finding, working in this direct sunlight here, it's giving me a bit of workability. So I've got a bit of time before we get to this point here where I'm noticing that it is flashing away. And that can be a struggle with some of these SiO2 products, is if you don't remove them completely, they can leave some remnants behind and you get a streaking effect. But I can see that this is flashing away quite nicely, and that leaves us, yeah, with a really nice looking surface here, and extremely slick as well. Now there's a couple of ways that you can use this product. You can use it as a wet application, so traditional drying aid, right? You're using it as you're drying the vehicle, so when it's wet, or you can use it as essentially a standalone like detail spray as we're using here today. Now I would still call this like in the drying fashion that we're doing this here, because what we've done is we've gone and washed the car, then we've used our leaf blower to remove probably 90% of the water. Some of it's evaporated, so we do still have some water droplets left here. Just like any product like this is adding lubrication as we dry the car. And what I quite like about this is DIY Detail don't actually claim on the bottle the longevity out of this product. you're probably going to get a couple of months driving in good conditions. If you're driving in the rain and wet conditions every day, expect that to be a bit shorter. But I like on the bottle, they don't go, hey, this is going to give you 3 months or 4 months of protection. It's very much dependent on conditions. This is going to give you some slickness. It's going to give you some really good water behavior on the paint. That means that when you come along to do your next wash, it's going to be easier to dry the vehicle. It's going to give you that pop of color as well. So add some gloss and enhance the overall look of the car. And look, the other reason that you want to use a product like this is to add some UV protection to your paint. If you don't have a ceramic coating on here, I mean, that's particularly important, but you can use it. Today, obviously, this car that we're working on is ceramic coated. So essentially we're just adding another sacrificial layer here. And for a coating that's slightly older as well, you might be getting a few years into it, this is just going to really enhance the water beading behaviors and increase the longevity of the coating that's underneath it here. So 2 great products here. Obviously we've used incredible suds to wash down the car, get it all ready for this point here where we're applying this top coat. And I think one of the things that I like the most about this is that it is flashing away really nicely. It is incredibly slick. So when I get to that second wipe, I'm feeling great slickness across the surface. The tension of the towel is not creating any dragging or anything there for me. And I love the smell. It's leaving a really nice smell in the environment right now.
Okay, so there you have it. We worked through the DIY detail line and we did that in like a decontamination based process, decontaminating the Subaru here. Yes, it wasn't about how good these products are at decontaminating, it was more of about the process. How do we use the DIY detail products? How do we get to the finished result? And I think we've displayed that pretty well here. So we started off using the incredible suds, which is definitely what it says it does. It produces really incredible suds. We foamed on, we rinsed off. Hopefully we got a lot of the dirt and grime off. Then we foamed it on again, and then we came into our contact wash. Smells like grapes, really lubricious soap, really enjoy using this. Then we came in with our decontamination, our synthetic decontamination towel, mixed with the iron remover. This iron remover not only removes iron, but it's also got lubricating surfactants in there that we can combine with our decontamination towel to basically start to agitate and remove those embedded particles off the panel, as well as also removing any iron contaminants that were on there. And I think those 2 things combined together do a really good job of combining basically 2 steps into one to help improve your efficiency when you're detailing a vehicle. We came along with the we came along with the water spot remover, which is basically should be called a mineral cleanse or a mineral cleaning chemical. We showed you how to use that, and we did sort of talk about at length about the sort of things that you may experience when using this water spot remover. So although we didn't have really large water spots to show you, I think we showed you how to use this as a mineral cleanse to help set up your panel to either reinvigorate an old ceramic coating or to remove any minerals as if you were going to move into a more of a decontamination based process. And then we top the vehicle with ceramic gloss. Now this is a really lubricious product. It gives us good lubrication between the microfiber drying towel and the panel so that we can dry the water as safely as we can without inducing any marring and scratching. Gives a little bit of pop of gloss, gives a little bit of longevity in terms of the protection, a couple of months or so, and smells really good. So just to finish up here, there are sort of 2 scenarios that you'd want to go through and do a full decontamination wash like we've just done. One, have you got an old ceramic coating on there that you want to revive? Do you want to give it a really good cleanse? Do you want to sort of restore some of the hydrophobic properties? Then you would go through and do exactly what we've just done. Or are you setting up for a big polishing day? Are you wanting to go do a 2-3 step sort of polish and scratch removal based process? Then you'd want to do a decontamination wash like we've done. Except in that stage you wouldn't want to put ceramic gloss on it, then you'd want to dry your car and go in and start polishing the vehicle. So 2 scenarios. I think these products have done a really good job of using it in our scenario where we've given my old ceramic coating a bit of a refresh, we've removed any old contaminants on there, and we're good to go for another couple of months. We do this sort of every 6 monthly periodically, just when we feel like the ceramic coating needs to be revived. So if you're interested in buying any of these DIY products, go over to thehouseofrags.com, use the word OMNIGARAGE as a whole. That will save you 10% off at checkout. But that's it from OMNIGARAGE. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more products like these ones.